Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So unfortunately today we have a little bit of some unscheduled maintenance on the Tahoe. It's kind of bound to happen. I've kind of been anticipating something to happen to the truck since I won it. But here is the day, and I'll go into that a little bit more into detail now. All right, you guys, so about 2 weeks ago I was actually driving this thing to work. Got into it a little bit, made a little bit of a rip, and kind of just fell flat on its face. Like, it stopped making any type of power whatsoever. It couldn't get into the throttle. It was popping and banging. Something wasn't happy, and I knew something had happened. So I pulled over, got to a safe location, tried to restart the truck, and it wouldn't turn over. So initially I thought, I hurt something on the bottom end, something valve train, something to basically lock it up. Maybe the blower had locked up. I wasn't really too sure. So called the tow truck, got her home safe, and started doing some diagnosing. First thing I did was actually replace the battery, because the battery has kind of been on its way out. I've had to baby it along, so we got a fresh one installed. I was able to turn the motor over by hand, so what I did is took the air inlet off, made sure the blower still spun, took the valve covers off, checked all the valve train that I could see, and I went ahead and put a breaker bar on the balancer and turned it over. And it did turn over by hand. No, weird clunks or hard spots or anything like that. So I was pretty confident it wasn't anything in the engine. Checked the plugs. No plugs were closed or anything like that from contact with the piston. So we were good there. So did a little bit more deep dive onto it and found that our our fuel pressure, a high pressure fuel pump, was not supplying or not creating really any pressure at all. It was only creating about 50 psi, which is nowhere near where it needs to be, up to close to 1,000 psi at idle, or whatever they get idle at. So did some more research, did a little digging, asked a few guys around that are more in tune with the LT platform than I am. And kind of everything leads to the high pressure fuel pump. So I checked rail pressure. It's at 48 to 53 psi ranging. Hard to start. I mean, it cranks and cranks and cranks and cranks. And I'll put a short video in there. It just cranks. And then it finally starts. And when it starts, it runs like crap. Can't give it any type of throttle. It starts banging, popping. And then it eventually dies. So I already verified low side fuel pressure works. I verified our DSX auxiliary pump still works. So we have fuel pressure on the low side, and we have fuel flow. I did disconnect the fuel line, make sure there's no clog, nothing starved the high pressure fuel pump to kill it. So still kind of speculating that it is the high pressure fuel pump, again, from the diagnosing that I did. We have parts on order. Most of it's already here. The rest of it should be arriving today. So we're going to go ahead and tear into this thing and see if we can't verify or find anything that points us to the high pressure fuel pump other than the scan tool that I was using to read the rail pressure. All right, well, about 45 minutes later, we got the blower off, if it even was 45 minutes. Pretty simple task. Kind of interesting that the blower to head bolts were pretty loose. I don't know if that's how they're supposed to be. I know they only get torqued to 89 inch-pounds, so maybe that's just how they are with the little washer they have on there, but they're pretty loose. So, yeah, we're looking at direct injection goodness here. As if you can see, if you haven't seen before, I mean, these are your injectors down here. Your rails on either side. You have your feed line to each rail from your main fuel line from the high pressure fuel pump. And then this is your feed tube. Now, this is the older style feed tube that has the little flexi bit in there. You can see that. We're going to be getting rid of that, actually. So what we're going to do is just use this line existing. So I'm gonna just basically take it off where the 180's at. We're gonna take this fitting off here to adapt it to the pump, and then we're gonna run the 180 back out. Might have to move it or go underneath this way or whatever, but we're gonna make that 180 go back out and then connect to the flex fuel sensor, the output of that. So I'm going to go through everything, make sure everything is tight, make sure all of these, the head adapters, the spacers right here, make sure all those are tight. I got a little borescope. I'm going to go ahead and shove in each hole to make sure there's nothing down in there, see if I can't find anything else while we're here. I'm going to go through the wiring harness as well, and this is no fault to Killer Performance, the guys that built this truck. I'm just going to go through it since it's in my hands now, and, you know, if I already have it up and open to where I can access this stuff, I'm going to. So I see a couple grounds back there that aren't really loomed, so I'll just take care of those, loom them up, and I'll just be able to clean some of that up. So, and that's what I did when I got the truck. I just cleaned most of what was already there, just cleaned it up. You know, they built this truck pretty fast, so again, no fault to them. It's just in new hands. It's my truck now, and I'm going to do what I want with it. So I'm going to clean up the wire, I'm going to clean up the water, I'm going to change the fuel on, I'm going to change the fuel on. It's so freaking hot in Florida, it's ridiculous. All right, so I checked the torques on the plates, and they're all good. Cleaned them up, covered them up, so I won't drop anything down into the cylinder here, or into the cylinder head, I should say. So we pulled out the high pressure fuel pump. It was the LT4 style pump. This is the fuel tube. I'm gonna have to take this plate off to take this out. I'm going to check to see if it's clean and free of debris. I believe it is, because we had fuel flow, or, you know, fuel coming out of the tube when I took it off. So, all right, you guys, unfortunate discovery here. While taking off the LT1 to LT4 adapter plate, since the bolt holes on the top are for the blower and there's no bolt hole provisions on the top of the head, they go into the factory holes on the LT1 heads. However, those marks right there on most of them, there's one there and there's one there, that is from the supercharger bolts that actually bolted down. So those are too long. So I'm going to pull that side off and make sure there's no additional damage. And what I'm going to do when the new bolts get here is I'm actually going to take probably a thread. I'm going to take a little bit off the bolt. Some of you probably cringing at home right now because I said that, but there's no difference if I just go get a new bolt that's a little bit shorter versus using the factory OEM bolts and making them a little bit shorter. Also, this line right here, if you can see that, it's pretty blocked up. Yeah, that might have been the culprit that basically made this fail. So I'm wondering, running the ethanol, if it really, because I've only had this thing on pump E85 and I haven't really put 93 or anything in it. I'm wondering if this tube went bad and that's causing it to be blocked up. I mean, it had some fuel in it, but it was I can't really blow through it that much at all. Nothing like this line, but like I said, we're going to delete this altogether. It's not necessary to have. We have the adapter fitting, and we're going to run the 180 straight off of the pump and then run this back to the flex fuel sensor. We'll shorten up the hose so it looks nice. But yeah, that's going to be our plan. So we're going to have one less failure point again. They do make a revised version of this where it's just the tube. There's no more flex joint. So I'm sure that's why they did that. But neither here nor there. We're going to go ahead and press on and get to the fuel lashing and preload of the new fuel pump after I take off that side adapter. So make sure everything's clean. We'll put those back on and we'll press forward. All right, so you can see that we have the fuel pump. This is the new fuel pump installed at the highest point of the cam lobe, the base circle of the cam lobe. It's at the highest point, and the way I found that is by using this tool. It's kind of a generic tool, and I got this from Amazon. It basically just sits in the place of the fuel pump, and when it goes all the way down against the valley cover, that means it's all the way in, or it's on the base circle of the cam lobe. Now, once it starts to rise up, as you turn the motor over, or the engine over, it'll kind of protrude, right? And you'll have a little bit of gap, like about that much or so. And that, you know, once it stops climbing and starts falling, that's when you know you passed the, you know, highest point of the cam lobe. So right now we're on the highest point of the cam lobe, and there's no gap. I was able to run these down finger tight with no with no gasket. All right, so that means we have full, it's fully seated at the highest point of the cam lobe with no gasket. So when we add the gasket, we're going to add about a 10,000 gap in between the pump and the valve cover, which just means that we're not bottoming the pump out, which is good. It's a good sign. Now what we're going to do is the opposite. I'm going to pull this back out. We're going to find the base circle of the cam lobe and then reinstall the fuel pump to see if there's any type of preload on it or not. So let me pull this out and I'll go ahead and show you guys. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that. That is right. That's the tool installed, and that is all the way up on the base circle of the cam lobe at the highest point. And now I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to wait for it to drop until it's flat. So as you can see, it's going down, and right about there, we're at the lowest point. So it's making solid contact. It's not making contact with anything underneath, which would be the follower. So we're good to go. So now, set that aside, we're going to reinstall the fuel pump. Actually, yeah, I should be doing this with the gasket, but I'm just going to go ahead and reinstall it for you guys. And honestly, I can already tell that we have enough, we have preload, right? So let's get these guys started, right? You can see how the pump is not sitting flush. That's a good sign. Okay, there's nothing obstructing it, and I can push down on it, and I can actually hear it make contact with the follower. So if you can see that, that means we have preload. Now, if it was flat and we had no contact, that means we don't have enough preload. So right there, that's telling me we have enough preload. So I'm actually going to take this back out, and I can't see a lash cap on that follower. That doesn't mean there isn't one installed. I just can't see it. I can't feel it because it's pretty tight down there. So I don't think there is one on there. There might be one on there already. There's definitely something on top of it. So maybe there is a lash cap on there. Either way, it's always good to do your homework and do your research and verify that you do or you do not have enough lash. So now that we verified that, I can actually go ahead and fully install the new pump with the new gasket. So we'll go ahead and get that installed, and then we should be able to start putting this thing back together. You guys, we got the high pressure fuel pump installed, we got the crossover tube installed, and we went ahead and torqued everything up so everything's nice and tight. I did get a new fitting for the fuel pump itself. It's a quick connect 3/8 inch female fitting to a 6AN. The one that was on here was pretty mangled up, so I replaced that. And this is our new fuel feed tube. It's going to run straight to the flex fuel sensor, straight to the pump. So before anybody says it's a bad idea, I would have to take the supercharger off to get to that line anyway if there was a leak. I did just prime the system, batteries hooked up, and there's no leaks. So we do have fuel. I've already verified that, and so far no leaks. So yeah, it just kind of simplifies the fact of it and gets rid of that factory check ball rubber mount type deal where, it was probably clogged up. I'm not 100% sure. Haven't really cut open into it yet, but we're just going to simplify it a little bit. It'll clean it up a little bit more too. And again, if we have problems down the road, I'd have to take the blower off anyway. So why not just do it this way? So yeah, that's my thought process on it. So really now what we're going to do is clean everything up, clean all our gasket surfaces, change all the gaskets on the blower itself, and then go ahead and plop her on. So in case you guys were wondering what was ever in the side of this tube, it's this guy. I don't know what it does, how it works, but I mean, it's not making any noise. I can't push it open or closed. Yeah, I would say that's a restriction. I mean, it literally sits in here, super restrictive. So I can't imagine that's good for any type of fuel system. Yeah. No idea. But we don't have it anymore, so I don't care. But if you were curious why, or what's in there, that's what that looks like. It's all buttoned up. The only thing we haven't done is refilled our coolant for the supercharger. So we're going to go ahead, fire this thing up, and see what we get. Moment of truth, it should just fire right up, or it might take a minute since it is DI. We'll see. Fires right up. All right, so I just want to go in here and look at our desired fuel rail pressure and our fuel rail pressure sensor 1 and 2. Okay. So, and this is just to confirm. You can see we had pressure, so let's go ahead and start it. Right there, fuel pressure sensor 1 and 2 reading. Well, you guys, the Tahoe is finally fixed after the high pressure fuel pump had failed on us, so we got it done. We got her back up and running, and it feels so good. So, moral of the story, the harder you are on stuff, the more likely they're going to break. So, it was kind of bound to happen, like I said before. No fault to Killer Performance, no fault to Cletus and their crew, but stuff happens, you guys, especially in modified vehicles. It's hot out here. I'm done for the day. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing. We will see you in the next episode.